Hello, welcome. Good day. We are going to start this new webinar. It is a pleasure for us to share this time with you, and we hope we will help you to understand the necessary tests for product validation in an easy way. Today, in this webinar, we will talk about a new topic: how to validate your products, the International Key Test for Cosmetics. The duration of the webinar will be about 40 minutes. If you have any questions or doubts, please contact us. On the first and last slide, you will find our contact details. We will be glad to receive your emails, and at the end of the webinar, you will receive also a brief questionnaire. Your answers will help us to improve our services and webinars a lot. Thank you in advance. As you may know, Cosmeservice is a consulting company focused on cosmetic safety and regulation for the EU and the UK. You are welcome to visit our website, cosmeservice.com. So we are going to start. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Elisa Esteve, and I am Product Safety and Regulatory Affairs Manager here at Cosmeservice. I am a chemist, and I am at Cosmeservice since 2017. And I'm glad to share also this webinar with my colleague, Diana Galindo, also from the regulatory and product testing area. She is a chemical engineer, and she is at Cosmeservice from 2018. So this is a brief overview of what we will be talking about in this webinar. First, we will see the overview of the test market and the main steps about how to validate a cosmetic product with the 5 common questions that someone could be done. Then we will see the different kinds of tests, such as the mandatory test and clinical test, with the international legal framework to ensure the safety of the cosmetics. After it, we will show you when do you need to perform the efficacy tests to know the acceptability of your products or to justify different claims. Finally, some key actions that we recommend you to follow to achieve safe and complete cosmetic product ready to sell in the market. We want to highlight that the cosmetic market and testing measurements are highly regulated with requirements that are rigorously enforced from a few years ago due to the big growth of cosmetic industry, making things even more complex. We have a lack of global harmonization of test protocols and labeling criteria for claims. Also, the absence of established protocols for several kinds of tests, and the inconsistency between testing labs and cost associated with different protocol tests depending on the territories. Therefore, tests are essential tools to ensure the safety and the quality of the cosmetic products through several products category and diversity, stimulating innovation and fostering competition. To fulfill this role, tests and claims must be able to evolve with national markets, scientific progress, and also the diversity of consumers, as well as with changes and adaptation to social demands, trends, and fashions. So now my colleague Diana will continue the presentation with the test validation flow, and she will explain you all the different tests. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa, for the introduction. It's a pleasure for both to share with the audience this new topic. So now we would like to talk about the test validation flow with the most common 5 questions to know the basic principles for cosmetic studies. For the first question, what is a test protocol, the main points that all test protocols should have are they have to be reliable, consistently good in quality or performance. Also, able to be reproduced by someone skilled in the art. It means that the protocol contains study objective, product information, test procedure, methodology used, and relevant parameters, results, and final conclusions. So then, when do you need to do it? We can divide into stages, before and after. Related before, we have a proof of concept or prototype development, as well as for a product validation. We check the prototype for the final approval before launching. And after, to justify or accurate complaints, reformulation in ingredients, or redefine business strategy. So, related who should perform the test or how will be the condition to do it? We recommend to do it with reliable partners as certified laboratories following GLP, good laboratory practices, or good clinical practices. Moreover, the study must be validated only for the final products. It is not stable to perform in a macro formula or similar products with a base formula. The next point is where do you want to sell the product and which is the necessary method that can apply to my product. Firstly, we need to know if you want to sell the product in a national market, international market, or both. This will depend on the national regional market and the official method for both. And before considering the support or implementation in a specific or several markets, we should identify which is the legal framework that can apply to my products and which method could be the most able to match with the international or national standard. As you can see in this immense market scenario, each territory is regulated in a different way. We have different standards at China, United States, Korea, and Asian nations, as also could be Israel, India, or Mercosur. Thus, it's essential to set a standardization of the legal framework for all competitive organizations, industry, and social stakeholders. And the most important is, why do you need a type of test? Some of the multiple answers are to predict toxicity of the final cosmetic products, to achieve the desired quality of the products and compliance with the specific or international regulation, and also to provide valuable supporting information for safety, efficacy, and marketing purposes. Here you have a general overview of all test validation flow. Next, we will talk about the different test categories that you could find in the product life cycle, divided in three: mandatory tests, clinical tests, and efficacy studies based on panel's opinion. So, talking about mandatory tests, these tests are focused on the product's safety and also they depend on the product category. Not all products need the same test according to their properties or characteristics. There are microbiological tests, challenge tests, stability tests, and compatibility tests. For specific products, we have other tests such as sound protection or eye contact. We will be talking about SPF and heat gun. The reason why the regulation obliges us to perform this test is because we need to ensure the microbiological test safety for cosmetic and to maintain the quality, safety, and intended specification of the products, and to confine hygienic and high quality handling. So, following the 5 whys, we would like to introduce the first mandatory test, the microbiological analyse. For the first place, what is it? This test helps to avoid microbial contamination in the final cosmetic product, checking the presence of aerobic mesophilus, molds, yeast, and 4 specific pathogens. When we need to perform it, it will be necessary to perform in the production control for each batch and at the final cosmetic product. This test has a duration of 3 days. And where? Where do you sell the products? Maybe customers will ask you for a reliable certificate of analysis to import the products. Therefore, we will follow the ISO standard to cover all possible territories. Also, the ISO methods are reviewed every 5 years to update the protocols and to make corrective measures is applied. According to this ISO, the standard outlines that all products should be free from the listed pathogens in 1 gram or 1 milliliter of product. So, depends on the national regional territory, the international standard could adopt different considerations. As review, ISO normative is similar to the regional normative, but this has few additional requirements and therefore the standard was not implemented yet. For example, in some territories as Mercosur, which follow Brazilian normative, is not include Candida. Adoptive. Its standard is explicitly taken as a reference in the regulation or in the official publication, such as Europe or Canada. And final, approved. The specific authority is internally discussing the standard in force, considering ISO method. This is applied or used by stakeholders, such as industry, without national adoption for products, processes, or services. Moreover, additional options followed by the cosmetic industry are European Pharmacopoeia, United States, or British Pharmacopoeia. Who or how? Accredited laboratories, GLP, technical expert following the ISO method is the very recommended option. And final, why? To ensure a high microbiological quality control in the whole manufacturing process, such as raw materials, processed water, and environmental conditions, and to obtain a safe cosmetic product for consumers. Related to what is the challenges, this test is intended to ensure the microbial stability and preservation during storage and use, and it checks the effective and protective action for the preservative system of a cosmetic product. This sophisticated system takes into account formulation parameters influencing preservative efficacy, diversity of products, and packaging type. Given the chemical physical characteristics of the cosmetic products, we could identify a product as a microbiologically low risk according to this ISO. Some examples of these factors could be physical form or intended use, such as solid and powders or single-use products. Then production in a sterile condition, like high temperature or very low pH for solid listed, for example, and chemical limits and special composition such as formulation without water derivatives, organic solvents, oils, between others, like nail polish products and hand cleansing gels. Finally, other factors could be the packaging or sterile preservation as autoclave. or single-use products. Talking about the method, the challenge test ISO as a first stage. These methods confirm the inhibition of the preservative system by the neutralization system. These tests are based on the inoculation of personal care products with a known concentration of 5 relevant strain microorganisms. For each interval time, 7, 14, and 28 days, and each microorganism, the percent reduction is calculated and compared to the criteria for acceptable preservation. Here you can find a comparative between ISO and European Pharmacopoeia. And also, in the other table, you can find 2 possible criteria for the ISO regulation, A and B. Even though there is no specific test legally required to demonstrate the preservative efficacy, you can see here the current situation to accept ISO for challenge tests in some territories. For now, it is adopted in Europe officially, and it is under discussion on the shown organization. Moreover, the evaluation of the antimicrobial protection of the cosmetic products could be performed following some of these relevant methods, as Pharmacopoeia, United States Pharmacopoeia, Japan regulation, or PCPC guidelines, between others. Who or how? As we said previously, the best option to perform the test is with accredited laboratories, GLP, and technical experts following the ISO method. And why is needed this test? To maintain the cosmetic integrity and quality over time by ensuring they remain safe from microbiological waste during use by consumers. So now we are going to start with the stability test. What is it? To estimate the product lifetime, the accelerated stability test evaluates different characteristics parameters in controlled conditions that depends on the kind of product and their physical form. When we need to do it? In a formulation prototype and the final cosmetic products. This test has a duration of 3 months. Well, there is no official method for this test, but we follow ISO method according to the show ISO that includes 2 different temperatures to determine the characteristics or properties of the cosmetic formula, such as organoleptic, density, viscosity, weight loss, and microbial quality, and others. And as we said previously, the best option to perform the test is by accredited laboratories, following GLP and the ISO methods. And finally, this test is a requirement to prove the shelf life, expiry date of the products, and the PAO information placed on the products. Then, as a critical complement in a cosmetic development, we find compatibility tests. What is it? The packaging testing should be performed over final product and packaging as complementary to a stability test in order to test interaction between the packaging and the product itself that might alter product nature or compromise product safety. When this test is performed with the final cosmetic product during 3 months. And where, as we say, we follow the ISO, the same as stability test, as there is no official method. The packaging functionality must be measured in the appropriate way according to the packaging container form, organoleptic, weight loss, color, deformation, cracking, and so on. And who? The best option to perform the test is to follow ISO method at accredited laboratories and GLP. Finally, why? It is a requirement to prove the shelf life and to avoid migration or interaction between formula and packaging system. For specific products, it's necessary to prove their safety for the intended use. In this case, sunscreen products should be sufficiently effective against UVB and UVA radiation to ensure a high-level protection of public health. To this end, it should perform in two steps, in vitro and in vivo tests, confirming SPF UVA ratio and critical wavelength. When this analysis should be performed at the development stage and later with the final products. And where there is no global harmonization for sunscreen testing. In other words, each territory could regulate the products as a cosmetic product or as a OTC drugs. We follow the current ISO standard to check the protection against UV radiation. The SPF procedure is divided into types of tests, in vitro and in vivo SPF. After passing the SPF in vitro, the SPF value determination is measured in human volunteers by applying the sunscreen formula to an area of the body. After this, the irradiated skin area are examined to determine SPF value. This is done in two stages, from 5 to 5 volunteers 8 times. As a clinical study, the evaluation of the SPF level and the real use condition is needed to ensure the protection value in a relevant target population. So the current standard for SPF in Euro is ISO 24444 and 2019. This edition replaced the first edition, which has been technically revised and modified. If you need further information about the change, contact us. And for the persistent pigment darkening, PPD, the method used to measure UVA protection that is similar to the SPF. This has to be indicated by the word UVA into a cycle, and it is shown at this image. This is the official symbol to show the products comply with this level of protection. In Europe, the UVA in vitro is mandatory to claim this. Also, a product claiming UVA protection must be clinically tested on the volunteers. The procedure is very similar as previously mentioned for SPF, but differs in the ultraviolet radiation range. Moreover, in order to ensure the broad protection, a critical wavelength of at least 317 nanometers has to be checked to cover all UV radiation. This is mandatory for FDA and as an additional requirement in the EU. As optional claims, we can check water, sun, or sweep resistance, and blue light protection. And regarding the label category, you will be able to claim the different ranges of sun protection according to the subset of your test. Here, you can see that some of the territories have performed the solar protection efficacy under ISO standard, but I was saying previously, there are no global harmonization for sunscreen. In this sense, FDA needs a minimum of 20 volunteers at different progression of doses and standard product reference. So several studies conducted during the ISO development process have highlighted the importance of the control of test parameters when performing the in vitro test and in vivo tests. The essential factor to obtain consistency interlab, and suitable control for this test worldwide needs to put attention in the product application technique, reference standard sample, and exposure and test instrument calibration. Then, as always, the best option to perform the test is by accredited laboratories, GLP, and good clinical practices, following the ISO method. For this test is very important. And finally, why? We need to check the SPF protection against UVA and UVB. The critical wavelength has to be covered, and also the good performance of sun cream products when used, water-resistant condition, to ensure the product will stay on the skin protecting us. To conclude the mandatory test, we will be talking about heat count. What is it? It's valid to ensure the safety of the product in contact with the eyes and mucous membrane. It is a semi-quantitative evaluation of the irritant potential of the cosmetic products. When the test is performed with the final cosmetic product and takes 10 days. According to the method, we don't have an official method. We normally use the heat can assay according to look method. And who or how? In our experience, a variety of approaches are adopted through the industry in Europe, with many companies avoiding the need for any animal testing using weights of evidence approach. And finally, why this test aim is to check the preliminary irritation potential of the cosmetic for a specific product in sensitive contact. You can claim no irritant for eyes. So now we will talk about clinical tests. Are necessary to ensure the skin compatibility and to know the acceptability and tolerance between the cosmetic formula and the skin before launching a product, and also to avoid any potential adverse effects in a target population. These studies provide an evidence support based on risk endpoints evaluation in controlled conditions under medical vigilance. Therefore, we try to avoid any incompatibility with the skin as allergic contact, dermatitis, irritation, and sensory irritation, between others. As a building blocks, our clinical experts conduct all tests under COLIPA guidelines and Cosmetic Euro, and also according to the International Contact Dermatitis Research Group. There are different skin tolerance tests depending on the product diversity, on several factors, along with several test variables such as duration, size of the volunteer panel, application type, and so on. Now we are going to make an overview of the most common tests: epicutaneous pads, open test, human repeat insult fast test, or induced test. Cosmetics companies regularly make claims in order to market their products. So there are some clinical tests that can be performed to justify safety claims and subjective or efficacy claims. Some frequent claims like dermatologically tested, suitable for sensitive skin or for children, babies, hypoallergenic, SPF protection, and non-comedogenic. These tests are used to show innovation claims, and remember that these safety claims also need to be supported. Now, we will get into them. For the first one, pads and open test. What is it? Pad test place the product on the back of the volunteers with 14/8 hours sport time and further reading the possible relation. On the other hand, open test applies the product under normal conditions of use. Depending on the product diversity, open test is performed for reactive products, such as solvents or irritant substances, like mascara, hair dyes, nail polish, or body oils, between others. And the size panel can be from 10 to 20 subjects as a representative statistic data on normal or sensitive skin. They are made under dermatological control. The product at path test could be tested, diluted or not. Commonly is evaluated 30 minutes, 24 hours, 44 hours, and 96 hours after patch removal, having a negative and positive control. The performance of the open test lasts 3 consecutive days, and the lecture is measured 30 minutes after the product is applied. Related to the method, as always, we will be performing this test at accredited laboratories and good clinical practices. Finally, why? The objective is to assess the skin compatibility under dermatological control of the cosmetic product in humans. The most important is to obtain evidence close to the reality. In this slide, you can find a comparative between packs open tests to understand better the difference, like the panel, type of products, number of applications, and lectures. Well, for human repeat insult path test, what is it? This test helps to check sensibilization and potential contact allergy of topical products when applying. This test has two stages, irritation phase and sensibilization phase, and it is for topical products. When with the final cosmetic product and takes 45 days. Related to where, the panel will be from 50 to 2,000 subjects as a representative statistic data on normal or sensitive skin under dermatological control. And then, as we said previously, it has to be performed by accredited laboratories and good clinical practices. Finally, the objective is to assess the allergic absence under dermatological control of the cosmetic products in humans. If the results are positive, you can claim dermatologically tested or hypoallergenic. In short, you can see here the essential parameters to determine for this test. And now the induced test is a research methodology that allows collecting qualitative and quantitative information about consumer potential behavior, preference, and reaction on a product. Consumers are getting required in a clinical center to participate in the research within controlled environments. When it is done with the final cosmetics for marketing purpose. The general duration is 14 days at 18 days, but it could be more time according to your needs. And well, the relevant parameters are the panel, the frequency of the application, the evaluation performed by training medical investigator, and the subjective questionnaire filled by the panelists. That it could be designed according to your needs. And then we will talk about who or how. As we said before, we can do it with accredited laboratories and good clinical practices. And the most important is why. If the results are positive, you can claim under specific medical supervision tested, such as dermatological, ophthalmological. All the subjective results obtained from the consumer answer will be like 18% of the volunteers think that after 1 month of use, the product gives them a feeling of younger skin. Also, for children, always the test will be performed after a past test on sensitive skin on adults. And then, if the results are suitable, we will proceed with the induced test under pediatric control. Our clinical experts will optimize the study design by defining study objective or checking what information is required to test and how the data should be analyzed. The initial steps in this flowchart are identify the target audience of your products, select the type of product testing according to your product and your objective, and the third step is to be ready for the research, defining the objective, saying this is critical and it is affect the research questionnaire. Our expert will adapt the test to your needs until this test design is optimized. Finally, the efficacy studies are based on the panel's opinions answered by key target consumers, and it is performed under controlled clinical conditions, including calibrated equipment to claim support. Given the wide variety of study types and efficacy proof, it is important to use a well-defined method and calibrated equipment. For example, when and how we need to measure, to ensure that this is appropriate to the purpose of the analysis. If you have any doubt, refer to an assistant from qualified experts. Moreover, all these tests can be performed internally by Cosmeservice, following the most qualified operational control and compromise with the goals of our customers. As a relevant tests are anti-aging, firming, anti-wrinkle, sebum regulator, sniff test for deodorant, effect glow, and so on. Also, you can find a customized test that can be more complete, adding different efficacy measurements such as chronometer, sebumeter, decimeter, between others, adapting the test to your needs. And to conclude, we would like to recommend some key takeaways to pass the process smoothly. To accelerate time to the market, I will choose ISO testing. That is the most probable method that you will comply with all international requirements. And you will win over the region-specific regulatory complexities. Therefore, select carefully your ingredients and the concentration limit for each territory. Previously, identify or visualize your global strategic landscape. Be aware about fees or timelines. Then anticipate the strategy about claims or label requirements. Assure GMP, obviously, and characterize your products safely and seek for expert support. And finally, take action following expert assistance and enjoy the success. Now, my colleague Elisa will continue with the presentation. Thank you.
So, thank you, Diana. And I hope the presentation made by my colleague Diana will help you with this matter. If you have any questions, just write us an email or a message, and we will study it and we will give you our best answer as soon as we can. And therefore, why Cosmeservice? I can say that all our tests are performed with the most rigorously way according international procedures and protocols, with the aim to be valid worldwide. Our company is characterized by the domain of expertise for in vitro safety studies, in vivo clinical safety, and efficacy studies. We have dedicated staff with experts from different medical areas, such as dermatologists, ophthalmologists, pediatricians, and others. All of our laboratories are accredited by the different ISO standards. They are in compliance with GLP and also with good clinical practices, and they follow standard procedures. And finally, we support different marketing claims with relevant equipments to gain the best results for your cosmetics in this competitive worldwide scenario. So how can we help you? Cosmeservice, as I said, is a consulting company with years of experience that could answer all your concerns. From Cosmeservice, we can act as your responsible person in the EU and the UK market, performing the PIF, the notifications in CPNP and SCPN portals, performing also the mandatory test or any other test to justify claims. We are also experts in analysis and revision of ingredients, artworks, and claims. We can offer you a full service if needed, so you can be sure your products will be sold successfully and safe in those markets. Here, I want to answer the 5 whys of Cosmeservice, like all of the tests, to give you good reasons to work with us. What is Cosmeservice? Cosmeservice is a consulting company expert in cosmetic regulation for the EU and the UK market. When can we help you? At any stage of development of the cosmetic product, but we recommend you to start with a safety assessor at early stages of the development of the product. Where? Cosmeservice is based in Spain, but we can perform the needed tests for your cosmetic product according to the regulations worldwide. Who is Cosmeservice? We are a group of internal assessors of different fields. We are chemists, pharmacists, and engineers that will guide you across the process of the registration of the cosmetic product. You can contact us every time you have a question, by mail or by phone. We will be glad to help you. And why you have to choose Cosmeservice? But because we are a one-step company, helping you at all stages and offering assistance with the safety, the test, documentation, and all aspects of the process before entering the market. I want to check all of this information at our website, the information related to our services, tests, and more info and news at our blog. Well, by last, I only have to say that thank you for your attention. We hope you enjoyed this webinar and you will be able now to understand easily the testing need for any situation. For any question you may have about the webinar, you can contact us at our email addresses or through our webpage or social media. We will be glad to answer your doubts. And when closing the webinar, you will receive a brief questionnaire. Your answers will help us to improve our services and webinars too. I will check if we have any question. Just give me a moment. Okay, we have a question here that someone is asking the number of samples needed for a test. And I think my colleague Diana can answer to this.
Thank you for the question. It will depend on the needed amount of the assay, but unless the technician will need two samples of the final product. One for the analyze and other if the results are incorrect to repeat again the assay.
I understand then every test have different needed.
Yes.
Okay, just we have to check for every specific product and every
exactly.
test. Okay, I have here another question about the final packaging. If all products have to be checked with the final packaging.
Yes, always it's recommended to test the product with the final packaging to obtain the best results on formula packaging system.
Yeah, the combination of this. I think it's really important when doing stability and compatibility, and maybe for other tests it's not that important, but for these ones, yes, it is. Okay, thank you. And I think we have spent a lot of time, more than the previous. And I see that we have other questions, but we'll be answering them by email if you don't mind. And thank you so much for your attention and for attending the webinar, and see you at the next one. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.